Have you ever had that feeling? You're browsing online, and it just feels like the internet, which was once this huge, wide-open space, is, well, getting smaller? Today we're going to dig into why that feeling is totally real, and what it means for anyone out there trying to create and share their stuff in a world run by digital giants.
It feels like the web is shrinking. I mean, this sentence just nails it, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that feeling so many of us have. It's this weird sense of nostalgia for an internet that felt a bit more like the Wild West, a bit more open. And it's also a feeling of loss, as the whole digital world seems to be consolidating into just a few massive, walled-off gardens.
So, to really get how we ended up here, we've got to rewind the clock a little. Let's take a look back at the web that used to be. A web that was all about personal spaces and, not having everything in one place. Okay, what's so telling about this timeline is just how clearly it lays out the whole journey. Back in the early 2000s, it felt like everyone had their own little spot, right? Their own blog. It was a totally decentralized universe. Then, the social media boom hit, and creating content started to get pulled into the center. And today? Well, we're deep in what you could call the platform era, where pretty much all content lives and dies inside these gigantic platforms that are specifically designed to keep you from ever leaving. And that brings us to right now, where there are two really powerful forces that are completely changing how we find anything online. And frankly, they're making it a huge uphill battle for independent creators.
Let's just look at this comparison for a second. The old way, it was a whole process. You'd search for something, you'd get a list of links, and then you'd actually click through and read original websites. You would literally visit someone else's corner of the internet. But the new way, you just ask an AI, and boom, you get a direct, summarized answer. Now here's the really crucial part. The AI gets that information from some blog or website behind the scenes, which basically cuts the original creator completely out of the loop. Yeah, for the user, it's super efficient, I get it. But for the creator, their work just becomes invisible fuel for the machine.
All right, so the second huge force isn't some new technology. It's actually a business model. It's what we can call the paywall paradox, and it's a trend that's leading to some really high-quality content for a few, while making the open web feel, well, a lot emptier for the rest of us. And this chart just illustrates that trade-off perfectly. Paid newsletters and websites, they mean writers can finally get paid well for doing really high-quality work. So you see, creator compensation and content quality both go way up. But what's the casualty here? It's the open web. All of that incredible content just vanishes behind a paywall, and that depletes the whole pool of free, accessible information. So yeah, it's a huge win for writers, but it's a big loss for the open commons. It really makes you ask, what happens when high-quality information becomes a luxury good? So, you're a creator, you're faced with all of this. What do you even do? Well, our source material gets into this fascinating, really personal response, a sort of minimalist rebellion that's all about reclaiming one small, independent piece of the internet for yourself. The whole idea behind this rebellion is something called open web hygiene. You can kind of think of it like digital decluttering, like Marie Kondo for your website. It's this intentional act of simplifying your site, cutting all the ties to third-party platforms and trackers, all in the name of getting back your independence and your privacy. So how does this actually work in the real world? Well, it boils down to 4 pretty concrete steps. First, get rid of all external JavaScript. No more visitor trackers, gone. Second, you cut out all those third-party dependencies, things like fonts that load from Google. Third, you simplify the code itself, stripping it down to the bare essentials. And finally, you move the whole thing to a simple, custom script for generating the pages. It's a pretty radical act of just taking back control. Okay, but here's the twist. And it's a good one. To pull off this super minimalist, almost old-school vision of the web, the creator turned to the most modern tool you can imagine, the exact same technology that a lot of people see as a threat. In the world of programming, there's this term for the junk code that AI often spits out. It's called slop. It's messy, it's nonsensical, and it's usually what you get when you give an AI a vague command to just build something. But what happened here was the total, complete opposite of generating slop. Instead of using AI to build something new and complicated, the creator used it like a surgical tool. The AI was told to meticulously remove code, to simplify the website that was already there, and to strip away every single non-essential piece. It was AI in the service of minimalism. How ironic is that? And all of this brings us to the philosophical end of this whole journey. Because after building this perfectly clean, independent little space online, the creator is left with a pretty profound and
Honestly, a slightly unsettling reality.
Because of that deep commitment to open web hygiene, every single analytic, every visitor tracker is gone. There are no metrics, no page views, no likes. There is literally no way to know if a single person is reading what's being written. It's exactly like sending a message in a bottle and just tossing it into the ocean.
And that's where we're going to end it, with this question. If you put your work out into the world, if you're basically screaming into the void with zero feedback loop to tell you that you've been heard, does that act of creation still have meaning? It forces all of us to ask why we create in the first place, especially now, in an age that is absolutely obsessed with measuring every single thing. It's a powerful thought to leave you with.